We got a big Wednesday to review. Not a lot of time to mess around on today's episode of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Welcome to the show. This is OMSFB, presented by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. I am Dan Bespris. This is a Believe Network podcast, and you can find me on social media at Dan Bespris. That's fairly straightforward. Please like the video, YouTubers. It's good, especially if you're watching right out of the chute. That's actually extraordinarily helpful. If you're new to the proceedings, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you along for the duration. Try to do 2 shows every single day where I can. And so far, I can. But let's talk about yesterday. A lot of stuff went down on Big Wednesday. We're going to hit that part of the season soon. We're now 2 weeks into the NBA season and a day where you're going to start seeing sort of like a leveling. And then there's this ebb and flow that happens in a fantasy season where things change and then they stay the same and then they change and they stay the same. And you're going to find it frustrating because we all want to make moves every single night, and not every night is going to be a moves night. Because like Tuesday this week, I don't think was a moves night. I don't know that anything needed to happen on Tuesday night. Yesterday morning, no, that's not true. Sorry, it was Tuesday midday. When the hell did No, it was Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning is when the Walker Kessler news broke. So we had a big news day yesterday, but Tuesday, almost nothing. So just get used to this sort of like the pendulum of a fantasy season. In any event, this was the part of a back-to-back for Philly, so no Joel Embiid. Adebayo got the start and was bad. Andre Drummond filled in relief. That's what we're gonna use baseball isms. And Drummond was better. You're not playing either one of those guys. They're splitting the minutes when Embiid is out, and you can't know which one's going to be the good one. Tyrese Maxey continues to rumble along. Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre always do more when Embiid is out, so those guys were pretty straightforward plays. We finally had our first true clunker out of VJ Edgecombe. 7 points, 4 boards, 4 assists is fine, but no threes, bad shooting. And I don't mean to be like Captain Buzzkill on this, but right from the outset, I was like, this guy, he's going to come down for very obvious reasons. Number one, he was shooting way over his head in almost every respect. And dude was playing 40 minutes a game, which has to come down. He was at 37 yesterday. I know Nick Nurse is going to give his guys a crap ton of minutes, so maybe it's not going to come down, 5 or 6, but it had to come down a little. And so, yes, he's still wildly overperforming, but VJ now has fallen to the 6th round in 9 category leagues. And I think you probably missed your chance to get a top 50 guy for him, because at the start of the year, you could have convinced a lot of people he was going to be top 50 all season long. Couldn't have convinced me, but he had a shot. Trendon Watford had a pretty good ball game here. You're not going to pick him up either. The Philly story is really more about where Edgecombe is headed. And I think the answer is still probably a little bit farther down, especially if Paul George comes back in the next couple of weeks, although that may impact the likes of Oubre and Grimes a little bit more. Donovan Mitchell looks like whatever was bothering him is not bothering him anymore. He's been a beast the last couple of ball games, and he's moved up to number 8 in fantasy basketball. Dude is shooting 58% right now on high volume. 1.3 steals is solid. 19 shots a game is a lot, but Darius Garland just came back. So this is also a bit of a sell high for Donovan Mitchell. Not that I think you could get anything more than what you drafted, where you drafted him, which is early 2nd round. That's kind of where he belonged. He was in that corridor with Steph and Harden and Kevin Durant all going near the front end of the 2nd round. You're not going to be able to trade him for a first. Nobody thinks that Donovan Mitchell just magically became a 58% shooter, but damn if he's not making everything right now. Jarrett Allen came roaring back into the mix. He's now up to number 43 in 9 category leagues, and the weighted blanket of fantasy basketball is right back to where he always should be. Steals are on the high side for Allen, so those will probably come down a little bit, but everything else has been on its way up. So again, those will balance out. And Jarrett Allen as a pick right near 60 looks like a very smart play again. Sam Merrill came back on the same day that DeAndre Hunter went out, so he got 4 more 3-pointers, but that's really the only reason to use Merrill. Jalen Tyson got more playing time because DeAndre Hunter was out, but really the big story here, you're not picking up Jalen Tyson. The big story is that Darius Garland made his season debut, and he looked like a guy who didn't have any training camp. 8 points, 4 assists in 26 minutes. The 26 minutes was the only thing I'm looking at really in this game. I think you could probably play Garland in his next one. provided we don't get some sort of weird report that they're trying to go easy on him in his next ball game, which I guess it's the front end of a back-to-back. They're in Washington. Maybe you wait and play him on Saturday. Cleveland's starting a 5-game and 7-day stretch on Friday. So this may be a spot where you see Garland get a couple of games off, and they're kind of easing him in. Take it day by day a little bit. If he's in that Washington game, that's a game where a lot of teams can kind of get fat, or players can get fat. Anyway, Brooklyn had one of the pieces of news, if you're going to talk about actionable things. Cam Thomas left early with hamstring soreness, tightness, whatever you want to call it. Basically missed all of last season with hamstring stuff, so I don't think they're going to rush him back from this. Maybe we get lucky and it's a nothing, but I would assume it's slightly more than a nothing. And if you drafted any Brooklyn Nets, you had to know that this type of crap was coming. Good to see Michael Porter Jr. get all the usage he could handle with Cam Thomas out. MPJ's number 73 in 9-cap, but that's only because his percentages are not that great so far. If the field goal or free throw ticks up even a little bit, he jumps towards that top 50 because his usage has been nuts. But here's, the guy I'm looking at with Brooklyn is actually Terrence Mann, who I've told you on this show many times is somebody I'm generally not interested in at all. But they just freed up 17 shots and 7 free throws or whatever Cam Thomas was doing before this ball game. That's a ton of usage back in the bucket. And a lot of it's going to go to guys that were in units that played alongside Thomas. So yeah, Tyrese Martin's going to jump, it looks like, into the Cam Thomas minutes, but other guys in that group, Nick Claxton, MPJ, Terrence Mann, even Noah Clowney in this ball game, those guys are going to pick up some of those shots as well. And my big issue with Terrence Mann is that he needs to go on heaters historically to have sustained fantasy value because he was only taking 8.5 shots a game. If all of a sudden he's willing to take 10.5 shots a game, I think it would probably work. So if Cam Thomas is going to miss any time, I would say Terrence Mann is your ad in Brooklyn, and we will go ahead and put him on the injury replacement board right now as I do the podcast. It's important. This is how we keep up with it. Over on the Pacers side with Quentin Jackson back out, right? Quentin Johnson? Who? Ben Shepherd moves back into the starting point guard job. He had a good ball game here, but he's not an assist guy, so nah. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl had 15 boards off the bench, and it kind of ruined the Isaiah Jackson coming out party because he had that big ball game, and we were like, yes, he's finally here. And then not quite there. Good news is with Jackson, he can post fantasy value in 22 minutes. So he was kind of fringy in 20 minutes of this ball game, and that's with him not playing that well and Robinson-Earl playing very well. So even if that balance tips the tiniest bit back towards Isaiah Jackson and he gets 23 minutes instead, then he's sort of in the money, as it were. Jarris Walker had a bad shooting game, but 6 boards, 6 assists kind of helped buttress against that. Hopefully next time he'll make more than 3 out of 11 shots. Maybe we can get 5 out of 11 or even 6 out of 11 and get him up to double-digit scoring. As it is, you're holding on because there's usage for days. Aaron Nesmith, 15-7, also having trouble shooting the ball, but he's got so much opportunity that you also need to hang on there as well. Utah, game 1 with Walker Kessler out for the season. It kind of buried the lead there a little bit, but the news broke midday yesterday, so I figure you guys mostly heard about it. But if you didn't, Walker Kessler is out for the year. He's undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery. It was a Nurk alert of the largest degree. Hopefully you guys all picked up Jusuf Nurkic because he immediately played 33 minutes and had 17 rebounds. Couldn't even shoot the ball. Doesn't matter. He'll probably shoot better against a less tough team than the Pistons, but 17 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and a block. This is, as I mentioned, he's kind of turned himself into a Draymond Green type of player these days. So Nurk, until he falls apart, is going to be a very good fantasy asset. Guy to keep an eye on would be Kyle Filipowski. He was bad in this ballgame, and I don't expect him to do much while Nurkic is healthy. But if Nurk goes down, he's the next man up. That's the next center. I guess you could say Kevin Love, but I don't think they're going to play Kevin Love more than 15, 16 minutes. So that would force them to go bigger, and Filipowski would pick up some of those minutes. But for now, you can leave him on the wire. Svi Mikhailiuk had 28 points on 6 3-pointers, but he's basically built like Sam Merrill in terms of fantasy stuff. I'm not going to pick him up unless I badly need 3-pointers. Program favorite Jalen Duren, 22 and 22. 3 assists, a block, 10 out of 15 shooting. He finally missed a couple of free throws, which, you know, we can give him the disappointed dad treatment. Like, Jalen, what happened here? But this is what I've been saying since fantasy draft season. I thought this was going to be a huge year for Duren because all we really needed out of him was to see his minutes tick up just the littlest bit. Last year, he was number 78 in 26 minutes of ball game while shooting a much lower free throw percent. So there was also a hope that that was going to kind of fix itself. But like, he's doing more on offense. You're seeing the improvement in his game without an uptick in minutes so far, because we've talked about this before. He got ejected and fouled out or got into foul trouble in 3 of his first 4 games this year, and I think 4 of his first 6. So all of a sudden, he has like 4 games where he's playing starters minutes, and he's an absolute Goliath. 18 and 11 right now. Huge impact guy and a lot of big man stats. And the crazy part is, I think he can be better than that, because if you look at the last week, he's been a first rounder. 23 and 14 over the last week for Jalen Duren. And I hate to say it, but other than the fact that he's taking more shots than we expected, the other stuff, if he's playing 32, 33 minutes a game, is repeatable. Big field goal percent, not that many defensive stats. 1.7 in 33 minutes. He's not like way out over his skis in defensive stats. He's improved at the free throw line. I think that's probably going to at least partially stick, and we get him back into the 70s instead of the 60s this year. And I've said it for 2 full seasons now. I think Jalen Duren could end up leading the league in rebounding. He's 7th in the league in rebounding right now, while having those multiple games where he left early. The guys he's trailing are all averaging at least 5 minutes more per game than Jalen is right now. If you get his minutes up into the 30s, he's right there with Sabonis and Jokic at the top of the board. Pretty amazing stuff. And I'm really happy so far, because that one looks like one of the ones we finally got right. Isaiah Stewart filling in for Tobias Harris is a pretty easy call right now. Duncan Robinson, same thing as some of those other 3-point guys. You're not playing him unless you badly need threes. Asar Thompson's free throws were a little bit better in this one, but he's mostly killing teams with his foul shooting right now. 4.5 a game at exactly 50%. The other stuff is pretty much where we wanted it to be, but he's pretty clearly just been a punt free throw guy to this point, which I think we were hoping that one could kind of balance out the other. Punt free throws, he's number 72. That's where you drafted him. Not punt free throws, he's 170. Whoopsies. Wizards got punked. Keyshawn George had a down game. Alex Sarr continues to really impress this year. The big news here was Bilal Coulibaly left early with some leg tightness. I don't even know what that means, but it's not good. Hopefully it's a small thing. He looked really good in his first couple of ball games. He looked well-rounded. I didn't think the percentages were going to hold, but there's opportunity as far as the eye can see with him right now. Sarr and George are the only other guys on this team that are doing anything at all. I don't think CJ McCollum needs to even be on rosters. As I said, even before the season started, I thought it was going to be a bad year for him. Try to hold on to Coulibaly, figure out what's going on here. And we talked about it before. Trey Johnson is not a play right now. He's more of a looking towards the future. Celtics side, as you'd expect, picked on the Wizards, and a lot of guys had a big meal. Jaylen Brown, 35 points on really good shooting numbers. Peyton Pritchard was a little bit better. Anthony Simons, who I don't want anything to do with, but he was a little bit better. Nemiash Keita had his best ball game of the year, a perfect 7 of 7 from the field, so that pushes him back inside the top 100. The story with Keita is he's probably going to sit just outside the top 100 when everything's said and done. Right now, he's right around number 90. After a big ball game, he'll have a down game, and he'll fall back outside the top 100 again. 3rd, 4th string center, useful in a lot of spots. Not a big-time needle mover, but rosterable, I'd say. Derrick White and Josh Minott are the 2 that I want to focus on here. So Derrick White, believe it or not, this ball game actually moved him up the rank board by 20 slots. And you're like, what? How the hell is that? That is the power of finally not shooting terribly. Even on a low-volume night, he shot 50%. One game where he goes 4 for 8 and he jumps up the board from 70 to 50. That's all it's taking right now because he's still shooting 32% overall. I don't think you guys realize what a profound impact the awful field goal percent is having on Derrick White. If he was shooting 48%, which I don't think is going to happen, he would be a first rounder. That's the window you're working with here. Literally, all he has to do is fix his field goal percent. If you get him back to his career mark, he's a second rounder. And that, by the way, isn't factoring in the extra 3-pointers he would likely have if that happens. So if Derrick White gets back to his normal field goal percent, he might be an early second rounder. Like, we're talking about inside the top 20. He is and has been for this season probably the easiest buy low on planet Earth. And I know it sucks because we drafted him in every damn place. So, like, you're looking at me like, Dan, how can I buy low on a guy I already have? But trust me when I tell you that by the end of this season, you will not remember how bad he shot the ball his first 7 games. I promise you this. And if I'm wrong on that, and he shoots like 37% for the year, I will very much do an entire episode where I just apologize for Derrick White. But even if he only gets up to 37% right now, he's still a third rounder. So maybe I shouldn't. Josh Minott was better here. Good shooting game certainly helped him, but it also bought him probably another couple of games on your roster. Hang on to Josh. He seems like he still has the power forward spot, but we'll see what things look like when the Celtics play an opponent that isn't absolutely duty. That's right, duty. Guys, this is really the only promo right now, other than me reminding you guys to please hit the like button if you're watching and subscribe however you're taking in the content, and also to check out our buddies over at the FanDuel Sportsbook and the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sportsbook.fanduel.com if you want to do it on a computer. Luka Doncic moves into second in MVP odds with a big ball game yesterday, defeating Victor Wembanyama. Those guys basically just flip-flopped, which, by the way, Wemby has cooled off a little bit. He's number 3 in fantasy, and Luka passed him last night. The 5-steal game will get it done. Wemby's come back to earth. Luka still hasn't, and yet somehow nobody's catching Nikola Jokic because he's on a planet all by himself. If you think the Lakers end up having a really big season and Luka goes nuts, he's not a terrible call. But the promo that I was referring to is, of course, the fact that we're attempting here, so I shouldn't say we. This is I. That's a royal we, but it's me. I am attempting to pay for my childcare with this job. That's where I'm at right now. And we are damn close. We are literally within a couple $100 a month of having it all taken care of. And that's why I started a Patreon about 5.5 weeks ago. And already it's halfway to the target. If we get 500 Patreon subs or YouTube subs, by the way, if you guys are watching this video, there are YouTube memberships now. I don't really know how those work. I tried to set it up the same way as Patreon. Well, you'll get a subscriber pod if I put one out. And I'm trying to set it up so if you have questions on YouTube, I'll see them first. I have to actually go look for the questions and have time to do it, which I won't today, by the way. No time at all today. But consider signing up. It's $1 a month. It is actually more impactful than you realize, because if 10 of you do it, let's see. If I'm trying to think of what the nanny costs over the span of a given week. You think about it from this perspective, like if the podcast pays for like 3 weeks of the nanny and Patreon pays for another week of the nanny, then we're pretty good. So consider it. It's $1. Links are in the show description. I don't even know how to tell you guys to find the membership button on YouTube. I should probably look into that so I can say, hey, there's where it is. But if you're here and you've loved the show forever and we've won a ton of money together, though you are the folks that I'm kind of asking. If you're new, don't give me $1. I'm going to earn it first. But once I earn the $1, then think about it. Minnesota got Anthony Edwards back, but it didn't change their fortunes all that much. And for some reason, and the Wolves have been doing this for a couple of years in a row. And for a while, I thought it was because they kept making roster moves, but they're just off to another sluggish start. What is it about the Timberwolves that just screams sluggish starts? They're 4-4, and they're better than that. Or they should be. I am genuinely worried about Naz Reid. I avoided him everywhere. I probably should be worried about Rudy Gobert also, but at least he's playing big minutes. So I think Rudy will be okay, even if his defensive rebounding has been bad so far this year. Naz, I think, is in real trouble. His minutes just aren't even there. Like, Naz Reid was supposed to be their savior. They had like a whole fan section for him, and he's playing 23 minutes a game outside the top 150. Rudy's outside the top 150, but it's largely because his free throw number, not all because of that, but it's down like 13% year over year. He's inside the top 100 in a bad start if you're not worried about that. So Rudy, less of a problem for me. Naz, I don't know if he's going to be rosterable, and I'm so grateful that we didn't draft him anyplace. Mike Conley, you were fun for your punt points, but with Edwards back, you can't go down that path. The fun stories in Minnesota, if you want to ignore the fact that the team is losing, the fun stories are Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. Julius is top 10, so sell high. Easiest sell high ever. 56-85 splits on ultra high volume and more defensive stats than ever before. Those things are coming down for Julius. He's having a great year, but it's not going to be that good. Dante, I'm not doing anything with Dante. Like, I think there's a legitimate shot. He's a top 50 guy this year. If he's playing 30 minutes a ball game, his numbers suggest he's inside the top 70. So this is really only off by like a round and a half in terms of what we expected. And the difference is his free throw numbers up a little bit. Otherwise, everything else is kind of pretty linear to what he's done in the past. So hold on Dante. I don't think this is a sell high for him. I think he's just going to have a really good year. And thank goodness we've got him in a bunch of spots. Look, I missed plenty of things. Don't get me wrong. I seem to have soiled myself with Cam Thomas so far. But Dante DiVincenzo is looking like a very smart play. And we're going to pat ourselves on the back when we get one right. And we're going to shoot ourselves in the back of the head when we get it wrong. Over on the Knicks side, nothing substantial here. They played more minutes than I'd expect in a game they won by 23. And I'll admit, I didn't watch the fourth quarter, so maybe the ball game was closer going into that final frame. Mikal Bridges finally slowed down a little bit, but he's been amazing. So, I mean, he is a sell high. He's number 13. But also, I mean, I would want top 40 back because we might be getting Phoenix Mikal Bridges back. In the words of Troy McClure, voiced by Phil Hartman, being offered the role of the human in Planet of the Apes, Mikal Bridges, Phoenix Mikal Bridges, it's the part he was born to play, baby. OG's been insane. That's another one that was a pretty easy call. Cat's been weird. He can't shoot so far this year, but I think he'll be fine. He's number 27, and he's not shooting well, so he should move up into the end of the first round. And then Josh Hart has been coming on. Thank goodness for that. Got off to a very slow start. Over the last week, he's right around top 100 and trending up. So keep Josh Hart. He doesn't have any defensive stats yet, and I think that'll be the thing that kind of pushes him back in the right direction. And then Mitchell Robinson at 8 and 10 with 3 blocks, but only 16 minutes. So I think we can largely ignore that one. My guy Kevin Durant just fell into buy low territory in Houston. Rockets are thumping people, and they don't even seem to need anybody to do it. Kevin Durant is number 31. He's not shooting well, and he's only taking 16 shots a game. I think both of those things come up as the year goes. Alperen Şengün fell to number 38 in 8-cat, mostly because turnovers and free throw have been problematic, and that's kind of what we knew was going to be an issue for him. His counting stats have been very good. If you were building him into your punt free throw build, you're feeling quite happy right now. Jabari Smith Jr. continuing to roll at a top 50 clip. This is, like I said, hang on, see if he can maintain the high value. We did a show where I talked about Jabari as one of the hottest players in fantasy, and we're going to do a buy low, sell high show today where maybe we'll talk about the guys you should wait on. He's a guy I think you should wait on. See if he can keep it going for another week or two, because I don't think anybody believes that he's a top 50 guy yet. You need people to start believing. Tari Eason, he's come on nicely after a slow start, so whatever fears you had there were likely good now. And then Amen Thompson, This is the kind of big ball game that's going to make it impossible to buy low, even if he still doesn't really have any defensive stats. He's top 80 over the last week on 24, 8, and 6, but the steals and blocks just haven't been there. As soon as they come roaring around, and they're going to come, and it's going to be substantial, then everything will be fine. But you're not going to be able to buy low after a guy goes for 28, 10, and 7. So that's probably dead now. JJJ had 5 blocks. I don't even care that he didn't score. This is what I wanted when I drafted him. Stop trying to score and skipping your defense and actually go block some shots. JJJ's number 67 right now, which is weird. It feels like he's been better than that, but the usage has been strangely low, and maybe that's part of it. Cedric Coward continues to be solid. Those two guys have actually been the two best Grizzlies so far this year. Ja Morant, another bad shooting game with high turnovers. He's number 123 in 9-cat, mostly because he's been a full punt field goal guy, but kind of also a punt threes guard. And he's voiced it. He's unhappy. Hopefully that gets turned around. I still think Ja Morant was probably a fine call where he went in 8-cat. I didn't draft him anywhere in 9-category leagues because that's not where he belonged. But, would I buy low on Ja? I probably would. He's not going to shoot 38% for the year, but also, it's probably still going to take you like a top 75, top 80 guy to get him. Yeah, I would do that. Yeah, I guess that's it for the Grizz. Let's keep moving along. We want to pick up the pace a little here. 27 minutes in, and we still got a number of games left. New Orleans, they've won 2 in a row without Zion. That's not why. They're better with Zion. Sadiq Bey got hot. I'm not picking him up yet. Probably ever, but certainly not yet. Herb Jones was a little better in this one. No Eve Missy. Derek Queen played 26 minutes off the bench. He had 11 and 7 with 3 steals. If he gets a start when Missy is out, I'll play him. If he's coming off the bench, it's a little iffy. I feel like there's been a big push for Derek Queen, but we must remember the starting center was out. The starting power forward was out. I think Derek Queen is one of my favorite stashes for later in the year, but I don't think he's a guy that's going to sustain it right now. And then Jeremiah Fears. I've talked about him a few times on the pod. I think he's in a head-to-head play, but not a roto play. Meaning you can build him into your head-to-head whatever, punt whatever team, or you can just accept that there are going to be some ups and down weeks. In roto, that's going to hurt you. In head-to-head, he's going to pile up various stats, steals, and hopefully assists and, a handful of points or whatever. And that hopefully will work for you in a way that with roto, the down stuff ends up being more important. And no, I'm not picking up Jose Alvarado. I know he had a couple of decent ball games, but I need to see the minutes. I'm looking at minutes. Dallas lost again. They are tied with the Pelicans now for the worst record in the West. Sadly, for the Mavs and the Pelicans, the Eastern Conference has 3 teams that are worse than all of them. The Nets, the Pacers, and the Wizards. Yuck. Cooper Flagg at least had a better ball game here. So, he's starting to figure out NBA game speed. He's number 106 on the season, but over the last week, he's number 75 while shooting 37%. So he's starting to make progress. Not there yet. D'Lo is starting now. He moved over Klay Thompson into the starting lineup. Didn't have a good ball game, but if D'Lo's starting, I'm holding. So hold on D'Lo. And Daniel Gafford. You guys know I love Daniel Gafford. Anthony Davis is listed as day-to-day. And they're going to want to get him back as soon as he's ready to go. But you really can't rush a calf thing because that could be devastating. Gafford has some of the best fantasy game of anybody on planet Earth. 25 minutes a game, he's a top 40 fantasy asset, which is basically what you're getting right here. So make sure that Daniel Gafford is added and started as long as Anthony Davis is out. You guys know how much I love Daniel Gafford. I mean, he's a 2-burger guy when he's the starting center. Maybe even 3 if his minutes ever trend up a little more. Bam Adebayo hurt. That was the other sort of big injury news from yesterday. So that meant Kel'el Ware finally got to play full center's minutes, and he was really good. So obviously he's the burger board guy there. I don't really know what I should do with this. I think I'm going to make him a burger board guy. I don't think that Ware is a startable player when Bam is healthy. Andrew Wiggins, See, now this one is an interesting one because Wiggins, there's a lot of stuff that was suggesting that he wasn't going to be good enough this year, but there was also some other stuff suggesting that maybe he was better than it appeared. And one of those things is that he's shooting 57% of the foul line. And I know that if you drafted Wiggins, you were assuming he was going to be bad at free throws, but this is exceptionally bad. And yeah, he's not going to get up to league average. He's not going to be a 78, 79%er, but we were assuming low 70s. And if he gets into the low 70s, he's been like a 60 to 70 range player so far this year. Unfortunately, he hasn't been that guy. So that's why he's number 93 right now. But you play Wiggins probably until Tyler Hero comes back. I don't know if he's going to last beyond that. Jaime Jaquez is still a play, even with Norman Powell back in the mix. Davion Mitchell, but was a little bit better in this ballgame. He's really more of an assists stream. He's number 182 overall because his other stuff besides assists has all been pretty bad. And yeah, I mean, there's a place for that. Every team loves assists, but at the same time, he really hasn't been a 9-cat startable guy. You guys are going to kill me, but I'm going to continue to tell you to hold on to Cam Johnson. I'm not giving up on him this fast. This is somebody that, in my opinion, ends up as a really good fit. The problem, of course, is that there are guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. who can come off the bench, and if they get hot, sorry, Cam, if you're not having a great ball game, you're not going to get to play. What I liked about this game was that Johnson took 10 shots in his 23 minutes. He's starting to be a little bit more involved on a moment-to-moment basis. He just got outplayed, and of course, that's going to be an issue. Like, Adelman's not necessarily just going to stick with Brown and Johnson and Aaron Gordon if they're not playing great. They've got Peyton Watson and Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. They have options off the bench this year that allows a little more mixing and matching than we had, last season. Now, this is a better game for Christian Brown. These guys all seem to be kind of alternating who has the good one and who doesn't. Brown is up to number 150. Cam Johnson is not inside the top 200. Aaron Gordon is still number 40, but the odds are he's going to sort of taper off a little bit from where he's at right now. But again, I'm looking at role, and Johnson's role has been steadily and slowly improving. I'm going to give him probably another 1 to 2 weeks, which I realize sounds like a very long time. But I'm not going to punt early on this one because I do think that if it clicks, which I still think there's a 50-50 shot it clicks, he could be really, really good. So that's not a guy that I can give up on this quickly. And I know we might end up getting that one wrong, but I'm not going to get it wrong because I gave up too fast. Meanwhile, Nikola Jokic is insane. Look at this. What a ridiculous line he put up. Holy crap. 33, 15, and 16. Oh, my God. Running away with number 1 in fantasy yet again. Lakers, man, they just keep finding a way. They did a really good job on Wembanyama. They used a lot of strong guards and Jared Vanderbilt on him. Instead of putting kind of a slow center, they said, Wemby, if you're going to beat us, you got to go over the top. And that's tougher for him. The Spurs need to get better at getting Wemby the ball closer to the basket. Because a lot of the time, they can give it to him out near the three-point line, and he can go get to a spot. But against someone like a Marcus Smart, who was guarding him for long stretches, he couldn't. He couldn't get to the spots he wanted to get to. They got to get him there before he gets the ball. That was the thing that jumped out to me watching a lot of this ball game yesterday was like, how can the Spurs not have a way to get Victor Wembanyama the ball closer than like 19 feet from the basket? And I don't think he has a massive, back to the basket game, but just get him a little bit closer because then he can just reach up in the air and flick it over someone like a Marcus Smart. He's not going to defend the shot. The issue is that pushing him farther away, pushing him out, and having a body in his grill, you could see it upset him. It screwed up his ball game. And the book is going to be out now. If teams have a guy like a Marcus Smart or a Jared Vanderbilt that they can just run up into Wemby's clothes, that's how they're going to guard him. Because he can handle the big dudes now. That's the jump he's made. He can handle the big ones. He can just go around them. But the little dudes, the strength little dudes, he struggled. Meanwhile, Stephon Castle is going to get all the usage he can handle before De'Aaron Fox comes back and with Dylan Harper out. But he has all these huge deficits. Tends to struggle at the free throw line. He was a little better there in this one. But 6 turnovers, bad field goal number. It's hard for a guy like that to have value in 9-cat. Castle, to me, is a points league super darling that has almost no value in 9-category leagues. He's been better at field goal than free throw, and the steals have been pretty good. So, like, there are obviously punt builds where he makes a lot of sense, but not ones that I'm in. You know where he fits. You guys have this figured out. But the Spurs have been the same thing for me since the outset. I don't want to deal with anybody beyond Victor Wembanyama or De'Aaron Fox. They're going to alternate, and it's going to be messy, and that's how it was in this ball game again. For the Lakers, DeAndre Ayton has settled in nicely. Did he make his free throws finally? Hey, he made his free throws finally. Super weird start to the year from the foul line for Ayton. It's why he's number 99 right now, because he's still shooting 59% at the free throw line. But if you punt free throws, which is also a way of seeing like, oh, what would DeAndre Ayton be right now if he was league average at the free throw line? He's a 6th rounder, which is where he was drafted, and on the way up. That's the cool part about it. Over the last week, he's a 4th rounder. If you're actually, he's a 3rd rounder with or without any punts. And yeah, he's gotten to do probably a little bit more because still no LeBron, but like you can see the chemistry developing. It's not a fluke that his field goal percent is super high. Everything he gets is like uncontested 6 feet and in. They don't even need for him to pop out, because Luka's so good at finding him, and teams are trying so many different ways to defend Luka that Ayton is always wide open. If they try to force DeAndre to not roll, that gives Luka a path to the basket. Sort of a bunch of negatives there. Marcus Smart had a better ball game here, and honestly, he was the reason I thought that the Lakers won this ball game. Would I stream him with Austin Reeves out? No, probably not. I don't know that there's enough upside there to take the shot. Jake LaRavia came crashing back to earth, which we all knew was going to happen eventually, but I think you can probably still stream him with Reeves out, even though he had this one bad ball game. He played 37 minutes. That's the more important thing. Hachimura is 100 to 150 range guys, so stream if you need to. And frankly, Marcus Smart probably ends up in that range as well. So those guys are kind of, doesn't matter range dudes. LaRavia is above doesn't matter, but probably tapers off when Reeves is back, and certainly tapers off when LeBron is back. Lakers amazingly weren't the late games yesterday. Portland deals the Thunder their first defeat. That's a tough back-to-back, though. Wasn't that a back-to-back for OKC? Wasn't it Clippers, Blazers? Yeah, that's a brutal one. LA to Portland late at night. That's a tough one, because you got to go. That's like a solid 2+ hour journey to a place, to a team that's going to wear you out. And you could see it. The Thunder didn't shoot well. Shea didn't shoot well. Aaron Wiggins did, filling in for Chet Holmgren on the back-to-back, which is probably the place that I would think about deploying Wiggins. Cason Wallace I'm using every day. AJ Mitchell, I just can't bring myself to do it. I know I should, but I don't know why. There was no Lou Dort, so that was another reason that Mitchell was playable in this one. And then Isaiah Hartenstein, obviously you play him every day. So just get a feel for who's in and who's out for the Thunder. Hopefully we see Jalen Williams at some point soon, and that'll shake the snow globe another time. But for now, we're getting an idea of when to use different guys. And the answer is Wiggins is a fill-in for Chet. Mitchell is a fill-in for Dort. They're both fine when the team has everybody besides Jalen Williams, but not super consistent. And Isaiah Joe, if you need threes. For the Blazers, basically everybody had a good ball game. I guess you could argue Tamani Kamara's wasn't quite as good as some of the other dudes, but a lot to like in this one. Jeremy Grant bounced back. He had a couple of slightly quieter ones, but he looked better in this one again. He's number 88 over the last week, which feels more like what we should be hoping he does, as opposed to top 30 start to the year. Drew Holiday's been amazing. Avdia's on the rise finally now. You're starting to see a couple of defensive stats. Missed a bunch of shots here, but his free throws went in. I don't know. Go figure out who the hell Denny Avdia is this season. 4th rounder seems like a pretty solid one. Donovan Clingan didn't play as many minutes here, but I mean, the fact that he got to 25 against a tough Thunder team, I actually feel good about that. And the Blazers are just fun. We knew they'd be fun. Shaedon Sharpe had a slightly better ball game too, but he's not at all my favorite. More of a points league guy there. I pretty much love the rest of them. Unabashed Portland Trailblazers fan Dan Vespers this year. Warriors and Kings decided to have a zombie team battle for some reason. I don't know. It was like they got together before the game and agreed, okay, we're just not going to play anybody today. So the Warriors rested everyone. Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski were the only rotation guys that didn't get the day off. Moses Moody slid into the starting five, and he had a huge ball game. Will Richard slid into the starting five and had a huge ball game. Podziemski had a big game. Kuminga had a pretty big game, but obviously his normal deficiencies. This is not a thing that's going to happen every day. You just sort of understand who was playing, what it means. We'll deal with it when it happens again. Similarly, on the Kings side, we knew that a bunch of guys were going to step up and have big ball games. We knew Dennis Schroeder was going to have a big ball game. You knew Russell Westbrook was going to have a big one, although I don't think we thought it was going to be this large. Russ had a Jokic game, 23, 16, and 10 with 3 threes on good percentages. I don't know what the hell happened to Russell Westbrook, but he's turned back the clock for a couple of days here. DeMar had 25. I thought he would do better on the passing front. Malik Monk had 21. So look, ultimately, you can throw out most of this box score. What's important, however, is to understand what these guys are in the medium or long term. Malik Monk is number 62 right now because he's shooting 54% from the field. That's not going to stick. You can ride him if you want, but I'm not bothering with him. DeMar DeRozan is number 101. And honestly, I think he's probably in that 70 to 100 range this year. I think that's just who DeMar DeRozan is now because he's not going to get as many assists on this team. He's going to be a good free throw and good field goal guy with points. Sabonis slowly working his way up, but he sat this one out. He'll be fine. Dennis Schroeder, this was an opportunity for him to get fat, and he kind of capitalized on it, sort of a little bit, 18, 7, and 7, but didn't shoot the ball all that well. I think he probably settles back near the edge of the top 100. Zach LaVine was, I think, actually hurt for this game. Back soreness. With Sabonis, I can't remember if this was mostly a rest game. Either way, LaVine, he'll probably settle back towards top 50 as opposed to top 35. And then Russell Westbrook is number 75 right now, but he's shooting 47% from the field with 2 3-pointers a game, 73% at the free throw line. All of these are among the highest numbers he's posted in half a decade. Is there a chance that Westbrook just unyipped himself? Maybe, but it's low. Still, so points leagues, you definitely pick him up. That one's a no-brainer. Category leagues, I think you could kind of go either way, and he's obviously going to get added after a giant ball game like this, and he was probably added after a couple of his bigger games over the last week anyway. I personally believe that Westbrook is not going to end up startable in 9 category leagues. I think that's where this ends up. Right now, he is. So, take that as it is. Right now, Westbrook belongs on all rosters. But I am once again reminding you that by the next ball game, he might not belong on 9 category teams anymore. 8 cat with a punt free throw, I would probably consider it. I think that's also possibly playable. Points leagues is obviously the one you really want, where you don't have to worry about any of the things that he's been recent historically quite bad at, because you can just rack up points and boards and assists and steals and whatever, and all the mistakes he makes don't really matter to you that much. But again, if you're punting 2 of those 3 categories, the points league categories, percentages and turnovers, if you're punting 2 of them, he's probably still playable longer than just while all these guys are out. So I'm trying to soften my stance a little bit, but also I wanted to give you guys context on that. Also, Drew Eubanks started and played 32 minutes. If we find out that Sabonis is sitting again and Keegan Murray still isn't back, and the Kings signed Precious Achiuwa, so that also is a little bit of a thorn, I would start Eubanks knowing he's getting a starter's role. He can put up decent fantasy numbers in full starters minutes. What's the recap on yesterday? I guess it's a good thing I did a tweet on this. Here's the recap. Ray Finkel, or I guess that would be Ace Ventura, Ray Finkel deep breath mode. Darius Garland back. Cam Thomas has hammy stuff, so Terrence Mann might move on to the burger board. Isaiah Jackson's a hold, despite not having a great ball game there. Aaron Nesmith, Jarius Walker also holds. Nurk alert. Beef stew filling in for Tobias Harris. Bilal Coulibaly. Let's hope it's minor. That's as far as I made. I need more breaths. Josh Minot, hold. Nimyash Keita, hold. Anthony Edwards is back. Naz Reid is in panic mode. Josh Hart, hold. Cedric Howard, pretty good. Jordan Poole and Zion were both out. I forgot to mention that Poole was out for that game as well. I don't know that it was super obvious what we do there. Daniel Gafford time is happening. D'Lo's a hold. Cam Johnson is a very tough hold. The Zombie Warriors and Zombie Kings gave us a data point, but nothing that we're going to do with it. I expect both of those teams to play most of their guys in their next ball game, so then we can reassess. And the Clippers, by the way, looking towards tonight, are already in zombie mode. No Kawhi, who's not resting. He actually turned an ankle. And then James Harden, who is resting, I believe. Right? Is Harden a rest game? Let's look at the Clippers schedule. No, he's hurt also. There's only one game today, guys. It's Phoenix and the Clippers, and the Clippers are punting. That's pretty weird, man. It's a very winnable game. It's going to be some streamers in that one, and we'll talk about it over on social media. For now, 45-minute pod. We got to get the hell out of here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe. Check out the $1 stuff if you can. If not, don't worry about it. At Dan Besbris over on social. That's where we do all of our stuff faster than the podcast. So definitely find me over there. And I'll see you a little bit later on today for Buy Low, Sell High Week 3. So long for now, everybody. Cue the music.